What's up, everybody? Ben Razza here for Odd Shot for Monday, October 17th in the sports. For a little Monday Night Football action. NBA is on the horizon. NHL.
You want to hear something that's going to make you happy, Eric?
Sure.
My highest projected running back is
Thank God. You didn't even know that until just now?
No, I just looked.
See? I'm beside myself. Also, you were a dick. You didn't back me up on Twitter. You did the opposite.
Yeah, well, I don't.
You should have another drink. We'll get into that. But first, good morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the NFL Lineup Review Show presented by Prize Picks. I'm Eric Lindquist. We're going to talk through all that was Week 6. And this panel's a lot happier. That means you should hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. That makes us even happier. We want to be happy. Yay for being happy, just like Adam Scherer is this fine, lovely Baltimore morning. It's weird because it's 8 a.m. my time, 11 a.m. his time. Yet I'm pretty sure he just woke up, and I've been up since 1943. How you doing, my dude?
I've been better, but I'm good. We're improving.
What's wrong?
Drinking all day and not eating is not a good mix.
Why don't you tell the people what you had to eat yesterday?
3 pieces of pineapple.
End of list.
That was it.
That was it. Why are you so stupid?
I don't know. But it's like all areas of life too, like just bad decision after bad decision.
It's so weird too, because you have this, when you came out to LA, hung out, you're so personable. You're such a lovely person to have in a social situation, kicking it with Jordan, kicking it with my wife and her friend. We're having a lovely time. You're just so much nicer than you could possibly believe. And then you go on Twitter and Adam Scherer just decides that sometimes he's going to burn it down. Like he's basically the Joker meme with the pile of money. Sometimes you just want to watch the world burn kind of stuff.
It's fun. It keeps me entertained.
3 pieces of pineapple, nothing else, but you had a profitable Sunday.
I did. Yahoo went well. 3rd, 9th, 23rd. Annoying, but made money.
I had 2 top 5s and Qs, so I hate everything.
Oh, that's the worst.
The absolute stone cold worst. Almost got a couple King of the Beach tickets. Got the $5 DK Mariota was up there, and then he wasn't. It was a pretty wild slate.
Yeah, Mariota was frustrating. Like obviously he was great, but then he just didn't bring anybody along with him. So. Yeah.
0.25%. I will say I thought Kyle Pitts could have gotten by until Robert Tonyan started catching garbage catches at the end of the football game, and I hate it. I just hate it here.
My brain was not functioning by that point.
But here's the thing. I texted you. I was just like, all right, what are we going to do with Devin Singletary? You're like, I'm not late swapping. I can't late swap. I can't go home. I'm like, okay. Good to know. Awesome.
I mean, we've talked about that before. I don't really late swap anyway.
I know, but Zach Moss getting inactive, I thought opened things up for Devin Singletary in a way where he wasn't on my board. I thought he was going to be too owned, and then all of a sudden he was on my board. But that's the kind of stuff that happens through week 6. We're going to go through all of it here on the Millionaire Maker. What?
How did he end up doing?
I didn't even see at the end. Nothing insane. He had double digits at the end of the first half.
No touchdowns, 4 catches for 22, so like 100 total yards. 4 catches.
Better than Eno Benjamin. Piece of shit. Hate him. Hi, Mike Lawrence. Good morning to him. He's happy. He's wearing the Philly hat. He's getting ready for tomorrow, Tuesday. I was thinking about maybe going down to San Diego for a night game. I thought it'd be fun, but we kind of have NBA coming back, so I don't think that that's going to be a thing for me. It's about to get busy up in here for sure, but Mike Lawrence, he's going to be manning everything behind the virtual pay glass here. I don't know why I say pay glass. That's not what it is. Just virtual glass. I'm so stupid too. You're rubbing off on me. It's osmosis. Also, great to see everybody there in the chat hanging out. Leibowitz, Stokastic, our guy. That's Mike Lawrence. We've got Rant, Ritz, Marco. Good to see all of you. Obi-Wan, there he is. Good to see everybody hanging out in the chat here. I find this to be one of the more important shows of the week for you, the viewer. I think it's very enjoyable for Adam and I to go through as well, trying to cover everything about what happened, our thought process through the slate, his thought process, especially through the slate, because he's playing 10x, 20x more volume than I am. But it was still a profitable week for both of us, which makes this a happier show to do than, I don't know, what it's been the last 2 weeks.
Oh, that's my end. So you know how
you watching?
You know how you'll have like ESPN random, like the ESPN Game Center tab just randomly open and then it'll start talking. Yeah, threw me off. I thought that like
so was it Stephen A. Smith just spouting something?
No, it was highlights from like a game yesterday. But I thought Mike had like the Eagles game on or something, like rewatching it. I was like, "Hey, Mike, we can hear this," and then I realized it was me.
He's such a fake fan. It's unbelievable. He's just CIA operative, pretending to be an Eagles fan, lives in Buffalo, has a Buffalo Bills chair, I do believe. It's just wild. Just wild. See, look at this. You're such a liar.
I had no idea he lived in Buffalo. I thought he lived in PA.
No, he goes back and forth to Philly all the time because he's a psychopath. Whatever. We love you, Mike. Let's go to it, shall we? We have the lineup review, and we go through the ownership of the most popular plays. We go through exposures for the top people here at Stokastic. We've got Osmo to Colts. That's Steve Buzzard. For those who don't know, he's phenomenal at DFS. I would pay attention. We've got Neil Orfield. We've got Rinpack, and we've got Ship My Money. Excited to talk through their lineups here first, but let's just go right to the chalk. Eno Benjamin, 46% for him. He was 4,600 in a great spot against Seattle. Seattle's only had shootouts until, well, they didn't. That's the thing when you have a small sample size of 5 games. You think you know everything, and then you know nothing at all, Adam.
Yeah, that was my highest owned game. Didn't go particularly well, but like he was 4,600. It was just so difficult for him to truly be bad. And then there was obviously a decent chance that he would do well. So, you know, like he was really popular, but also I think pretty clearly a good play.
26 team total. That didn't happen. Kyler Murray, I don't know. This is getting really, really weird. Thursday, you would assume you get Hopkins back. His 6-game suspension's over. So if anybody wants to go buy all of my Hopkins rares in the old DK Rainmakers lobby, go right ahead. Elindy 4, go check it out. Would appreciate that. I have too many of them. Ramadri Stevenson, though, this is where the conversation begins, because I talked about you burning down Twitter and not coming to my defense because apparently you hate me and your life is geared around making my life as miserable as possible. So far, successful. Great job by you. Ramadri Stevenson. Go ahead. Do you want to set the table? You wanted to say something and I'm just mad at you.
No, my fantasy cruncher froze, so keep talking.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, Ramadri Stevenson was my second highest projected. Yes, projected running back on the slate. He was only behind Saquon Barkley in my projections. I believe in Stokastic, as we look at it here, he was the highest projected. There you go. Highest projected running back at 6K. Cleveland, worst running defense in all of football. Banged up to a certain extent on the defensive line, just incapable of tackling, apparently. And only a 21 team total, but without Damian Harris. And the other part that I thought was interesting, no Ty Montgomery. Neither of those two individuals there. You had legitimate upside of 85, 90, 95% of snaps for Ramadri Stevenson in this spot. I thought 40% was low for him. He was my highest owned. He was somebody that I know you were over the field on in pretty much every tournament I looked at. How'd you look at Ramadri Stevenson as a can't miss back yesterday?
He was just, he projected really well. He was my second highest projected also. I know I told you before the show he was first, but I actually had him behind McCaffrey. But he was relatively cheap, my second highest projected guy. I thought the ownership made sense. I came in around the field. Seems like a lot of good players came in around the field. We had one idiot on Twitter named Jesse claiming that all good players were underweight on Stevenson, but they weren't. For the most part, everybody was either around the field or Alex was actually a little bit over. The Colts was under, but it was just a spot where he was going to get pretty much all of the carries. Obviously it could go poorly, but that's the case for anybody. I thought he was a little bit over-owned in the sense of like optimal percentage versus ownership. But, as we talk about a lot, and as I talked about on the show yesterday morning, you're not just building lineups purely based on their own guys. You're still trying to get a mix of, highly projected lineups and on their own lineups. So I just thought Stevenson was clearly one of the best plays.
My thing is like, you still have to get the pivot right. It's not like you get some award for pivoting off of a really, really good play, who is very likely to score a touchdown amongst his team, who's very likely to find success on the ground. Like, you still have to find pivots, and then they're usually more expensive when they're projecting out like Ramadri Stevenson is for 20 fantasy points. Something in that nature was pretty much what I had across the board. Like, you still have to find who it is above him that's going to somehow go out and beat him. And if Ramadri Stevenson beats him straight up, you're saving $1,700 or $1,500, or in Kamara's case, $700 off of some of those other mid-tier running backs.
Yeah, and also you need to play 2 or 3 running backs. Like, it's not like you're talking about one spot. So, like, I was way over the field on Joe Mixon, for example, but a lot of those lineups were just Mixon plus Stevenson. I had a lot, I had Deion Jackson plus Stevenson. Like, you're not just talking about one spot either.
Yeah, my cruncher just shut down quick too. Let me double check this because it's one of those things I want to make sure that I have it right. 46.1, 39.5, 30. All right, beautiful. There we are. So you talked about having a ton of this game. You had a ton of the Arizona and Seattle game. There were 2 main featured games, the other one being Buffalo and KC. Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen, both of them rated 25%. A lot of people holding hands together with both of them. My path yesterday, I talked about it on Live Before Lock, and I jammed Jamar Chase yesterday. That was the thing that ended up making it a profitable day for me. No Marshawn Lattimore. The Saints defense not nearly as good as people would think it to be at the moment. They're very, very pass funnely, kind of like a la Tampa Bay in some extent to some extent lately. And so I played a ton of Chase, but I also played a lot of Diggs. It made it pretty easy when you had cheap running backs to get to a lot of both of them. And the thing I didn't do was play Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs together. guess what? That still ended up working out because Josh Allen is just unfadable, apparently, at this point in time. How do you think about that Buffalo KC game going into lock yesterday?
I mean, I thought it was obviously a really appealing game to get to. I got around the field on Allen and Diggs. I think I was a little bit under on Diggs. I had like 15% Allen, but I was actually kind of surprised when I did the show with Josh yesterday morning. I thought I was going to get to more of the Kansas City side because that was just like a easy way to get exposure to that game in a lower owned way. But I actually had the Kansas City receivers being a little bit over owned even at, relatively low ownership. So I ended up getting the Buffalo side. Didn't really get to. I don't think I played any Mahomes. Didn't really get to the KC side outside of just running it back with Buffalo. But yeah, it was one of those spots where I still wanted to get some Josh Allen. He was by far my highest projected player. I had him projected like 4.5, 5 points higher than any other player at any other position. So clearly going to want to get there. Going to want to get to Diggs. But, within those lineups, you also need to pay attention to ownership. So I haven't actually looked, but I would think that a lot of my Josh Allen lineups were, maybe lineups where I didn't have Ramadri Stevenson or didn't have Benjamin, for example.
I am pulling up Jesse's lineups because I have to. Like, why wouldn't I? We're on this show. We're going through everything. I have to know exactly what it is that he did as we're going. I'll tell you the screen name here in a second if I decide that it's worthy of pulling up here, Mike. But just because I have to know for myself exactly what he ended up doing. He
went overweight on the next tier of running backs on Walker and Henderson and on so he basically just faded Ramadri Stevenson.
Oh, got it. So he faded the one popular back and then played every other popular back.
But he also
27% Dalvin Cook.
He was underweight by a lot on Josh Allen. He was underweight on Stephon Diggs.
Okay. That didn't go well.
Yeah, I mean, he lost a lot of money.
Yeah, that'll do it. Okay. There's actually nothing that's really all that interesting about it. Removing him from the exposure tab. There we go. Let's continue down the line here with some of the more popular plays. Kenneth Walker ends up being sixth in terms of ownership here. Coming out of Michigan State, the big knock on him was that he was never a pass catching back. It's the same way I felt about Sony Michel when people kept telling me that he couldn't catch passes. I was like, well, maybe it just wasn't part of the scheme. It wasn't something that was required of him. Now you get in a situation where you're the lone backer. DJ Dallas maybe comes in on some obvious passing downs, but they were up that entire game. Made it a great game script, I would assume, for Kenneth Walker III. I didn't find there to be all that many issues getting to him on this slate, but what did you kind of think about him when you were trying to differentiate him from Darrell Henderson, who he had in the afternoon window, and of course, Benjamin?
Yeah, so for me, Benjamin and Stevenson just looked better than Walker and Henderson, and we knew that a lot of ownership was going to come into all four guys. So I ended up just playing a lot of Benjamin and Stevenson, and I ended up under the field on Henderson and Walker. It wasn't, that I didn't think they were good plays or anything, but when you're looking at people's exposures, you have to keep in mind that basically what it's saying, it's not saying like, oh, I thought Kenneth Walker was bad and I thought Stevenson was good or whatever. It's just saying that like I found more lineups that I liked my lineups better that had Stevenson, and I didn't want to play a lot of, Benjamin plus Stevenson plus Walker. Like you're taking a lot of ownership on there, or Henderson. So it basically just ended up being that the lineups that I thought were the best had a lot of Benjamin and Stevenson, and as a result, didn't have a lot of Walker and Henderson.
All right. Well, the guy who did bust the most lineups was somebody you had almost 50% of in the Millie. Rinpack was overweight to him. Our boy Jesse was overweight to him, and yet he was a 30% owned wide receiver. So, Jesse, you can turn in your GPP card today. That's just fine by me. Tyler Lockett. Arizona, if you played a lot of that game, I understand it. So I guess maybe I won't eviscerate Jesse, and you had a lot of that game, and a lot of people had a lot of that game because it was a shootout, and Seattle has only had those to this point in time. That changed. Now you're looking at a 52.5 total for them on Sunday. Yeah, I already started looking at Sunday slate. Chargers and Seattle. That is going to be a game we talk about for a week, so get excited for that. How'd you go through Tyler Lockett, knowing that he was going to be the most popular wide receiver on yesterday's slate, knowing that he was in a great game environment, knowing that Geno Smith has been he's been the number one here for Geno Smith, but also knowing that wide receiver is a highly variant position?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the benefit of making my player pool on Monday like Eric Meckelhoff, who says he was an obvious fade. He was clearly like the best wide receiver.
Yeah, he was the best wide. You were playing him in cash. He was your first click
right
in cash at a wide receiver spot, period.
Yeah, and he was just cheap. And the thing for me is, again, it goes back to like, if you're somebody trying to improve at DFS and you're looking at other players' exposures, you have to keep in mind that they are going to be influenced by like what the rest of their lineups look like. And for me, it wasn't, I thought Lockett was going over-owned. I didn't really think there was a question about that, but I was playing a lot of Geno Smith. I had a decent amount of Kyler. I was playing a lot of Eno Benjamin, who, paired who you could pair with Lockett to get exposure to that game, even if you weren't playing the quarterbacks. So, Rondell Moore was popular. Like, it was just, there was a lot of correlation that's going to pull Lockett up as well. So I think, one, that's why he was so popular. And then two, he just clearly projected really well. It was a really cheap price tag. Didn't come through. And like you said, wide receivers are extremely volatile. Typically, I have no issue getting away from popular wide receivers, but he was one that I just wasn't going to get away from because he fit really well into lineups that I was building that heavily targeted that game.
All right, guys, right now, NBA starts tomorrow. It's unbelievable. Thank God it's here. Are you excited, Adam? I'm excited.
Yes and no.
Why no?
It's so much more work.
It is a lot of work. It's a ton of work, but you know what? We can help make that work less laborious by joining Stokastic Platinum right now. $10. Yes, just $10. You can get 10 days of Stokastic Platinum. That is every sport, not just NBA. We're talking NFL. NHL is now in full swing. Massive slate today. I'm going to be playing some NHL today. NFL, obviously, PGA, soccer, esports, yada, yada. Everything you can imagine for DFS. MMA, don't forget about that. We've got you covered right now. We also have a lineup generator that's a pretty cool new tool where you can export 20 lineups at a time using the data. So yeah, we don't have Fantasy Cruncher attached to it, but we do have the lineup generator, and that is going to be using the stochastic projections, and that is awesome. This is 80% off what the normal price would be right now. So use promo code HARDWOOD. Yes, all caps, one word, HARDWOOD, to get $10 of 10 days at Stokastic for just a low, low price. So take advantage of that right now. Stop guessing, start winning, and join us at Stokastic Platinum today. Continuing on, my friend, we go to other more popular plays. Darrell Henderson, we talked about a little bit. Do we want to get to my rant portion of the program?
Sure.
Why is defense still a thing? I'm so sick of this shit. I hate doing this show sometimes because I can't decide every single day why it is that I'm not banking these tournaments. I made $1,300 yesterday. I should be happy. I should feel very whole inside. But guess what? Jamar Chase was my highest owned wide receiver. Joe Burrow was my highest owned quarterback. I should have made all the money. There's nothing else that hurt me yesterday other than 40% Jags D. That was my highest owned defense by far. They had -1. You know who smashed the chalk again? Carolina defense goes berserk, absolute berserk. 2,400. I didn't have any of them.
They scored 9 points. What the hell are you talking about?
Dude, they smashed comparably. They scored a defensive touchdown. Arizona Falcons, both of them 14. 15 points was the difference. I lost the Q by 4 points. I missed another Q by 6 points. You know what for defense in both of those? Jaguars defense. What are we doing here?
Did you think about playing a defense that would score more points? It's probably something you should have considered, and it's something that people in the NFL final have probably thought about, and that's why they're there, and you're bitching about it.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I don't want to hear you. Go ahead. Talk about defense. Talk about how great you are at picking defense, and even though it's not projectable position, and you just basically... everybody just targets the Rams and gets away with it. It is just insufferable.
They scored 9.
At least this was a slow burn.
9.
Go ahead.
They scored 9.
They scored 9. That is 10 more than the Jags defense that I had in both of those lineups.
Okay, and the Jags were like the same ownership. So, one, you're just a chalk donkey on defenses, and two, you picked the wrong one. Good players like me played 2% of Carolina and 5% of the Jags.
Who was your highest owned defense?
I have no idea. Oh, the Patriots.
Yep. Good job. They played good.
Yeah. And they were only 5% owned. I played like 16, 18%. They scored 13, which is more than 9.
Is it? Do you like college football DFS?
Love it.
Why don't we do that?
I talked about it on the show with Josh yesterday. Like, I realize we're never going to get super flex NFL because it's really not casual friendly, but just turn DST into a flex spot. It would be more fun. To I think the point you're making, it's just not. So I talked about it with Josh yesterday. I disagree with the people that are like, oh, having DST, like it just, it's not. I think it's a spot that you actually can use to your advantage because of how unpredictable it is. But so I disagree with people that are just like, oh, it's not a spot you take advantage of. But also it's just not fun. Like you play your actual skill players, and you can take some sort of like ownership over, oh, I thought this guy was a good play and he's doing well, and like that's fun to sweat. And then it's just like, oh, this random defense just housed pick and then ran back a kick also, and you can't possibly win without them. And so like to me, it's just not fun. It's not that I don't think like you can get an advantage from playing defenses, because I think you can. It's just it would be so much more fun as a product if it were super flex, but even if not, just make it another flex spot.
It's like a slot machine, though, to a certain extent. Like
Right.
Sometimes you're going to pull the right number and you're going to feel like a genius and you got overweight to it. For me, I don't know what to do other than to be overweight. Carolina was 20%. They were 20%.
Yeah, I played too.
I mean,
I typically just
and they
play
still
pretty
did.
flat
If I had played Carolina in everything, if I had played the chalk defense and everything, I win across the board.
You did play the chalk defense and
tickets.
everything. Jacksonville was like 2 percentage points lower than Carolina.
Oh my God. No, they weren't. Were they really? Yeah, they were. Okay. I'm so over defense. It's breaking my life. It's ruining everything that I like about DFS.
Yeah. So I mean, typically I end up pretty flat on defenses. 2 weeks ago, I did have a lot of Dallas, which really surprised me because they were popular. This week I was flat, other than I got to the Patriots. I think a lot of that was because I think Ramadri Stevenson pulled them up a little bit, that correlation. Mm-hmm. But yeah, typically I just kind of end up flat, which makes it so I'm over the field on low-owned defenses and under the field on popular ones.
That's exactly what I do. That's the intent of what I do. And then obviously you can body bag me and let me know that I'm wrong. But for me, the people who don't complain about defense are the people who run like a god with defense. Like it's just insufferable. It's insufferable at this point. I mean, we had last week, I faded the Cowboys against the Rams. This week I faded Carolina against the Rams. And it's just like, at a certain point, I'm going to just not get completely bashed when the Rams have a 25-point team total and everybody just wants to jam their defense. I don't know what else to do. I'm just over it.
What you could have done was play the Patriots.
Thanks. Oh my God. I can't wait to get off this show right now. I can't wait. You are just insufferable. It's not Prize Picks. I love playing at Prize Picks. I think you guys will too. I'm going to be doing a video in a very relaxed, calm nature as soon as this show is over for our friends over at Prize Picks. What is it you say? Well, you're playing prop-based games. You're playing 2, 3, 4, or 5 player props. You're putting them together in a nice lineup, and you're being able to make a lot of money. We're talking 10x your money. On Fridays, they do the Flex Special. That's 15x your money. What, Adam? You wanted to say something?
No, I was just breathing and laughing at chat, but
Prize Picks is awesome, and it, unlike Adam, it is something that is sustainable. It is something that is not completely broken inside, and it has an opportunity to truly make you guys a ton of money. So use all the projections we have at OddsShopper that we have over here at Stokastic when you sign up using promo code Hardwood for 10 days, of course. Make sure you take advantage of that, but then use that information over at Prize Picks. I'm going to be putting together my Monday night video. Went 2 for 3 on both yesterday. I flex played both. Very small profit over on Prize Picks yesterday, but you know what? Profit is profit. It was a nice day all around. Thank you, Jamar Chase. But yeah, we're going to be heading to Prize Picks. We're going to be playing there. We're going to be talking through all of the different stuff for that video. So check that out over on the OddsShopper channel. We've got NBA coming, of course. NBA season has arrived. So great to see that. We're going to be playing a lot of Prize Picks, a lot of these prop-based sites that are just incredible. You can sign up, get $100 first match deposit bonus when you use promo code Stokastic right now. I would take advantage of that. Use this free money that sites are also giving you in order to go take advantage of it. But Prize Picks is taking over. There are commercials nonstop around the clock out here because it is that fun of a site and it is that good, and they know it. So take advantage. Play over at Prize Picks, our sponsor. Thank you so much to them for sponsoring our lovely lineup rewind show that's been boring. Nothing's happened so far, that's for sure. Let's go to the fantasy points column because now part number 2 in terms of what in the absolute F happened. Let's talk Miami. Did you play FanDuel at all, perhaps?
Yeah. I don't know what my exposures were, but I played.
Okay. So Tyreek Hill was in a winning lineup I saw over there. Mike Gesicki was in a lineup that I saw over there. We had Jalen Waddle in a lineup over there because, Skylar Thompson isn't going to throw the ball. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be your emergency quarterback. First quarter, put in Teddy Bridgewater, completely changes the entire complexion of that football game. All the winners on FanDuel had pieces of Miami.
Yeah, I can't even log in to the site. So
see, that's problematic. So I'm looking at Tyreek Hill, 4th highest amount of points, 32.7 on the DraftKings slate even. Mike Gesicki, he was completely unknown, 0.5%, 25 fantasy points. You had Teddy Bridgewater put up 23.16 against his my team, Minnesota Vikings. Nice to see. Just like seeing him succeed. And then Jalen Waddle, 21 fantasy points. I don't really know what to say. I didn't think any of them were particularly good plays, but they're phenomenal skill position players where things break a certain way. You could have the nuts, and things broke to have Teddy Bridgewater out there instead of Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that Hill and Waddle were good plays just in the sense that they are really good wide receivers, and obviously they can make things happen. Waddle, really good after the catch. Hill, obviously a deep threat, and we weren't sure that there was a quarterback that could get him the ball, but just from a talent standpoint and knowing they were going to be relatively low owned, I thought they were good plays. I don't think that I actually played very much of them, though.
No, let's see. Tyreek Hill, you had 0.8% of. Congratulations. Here's a cookie. I had to say something mean. I'm upset.
Yeah, 0.8% Waddle also.
Look at you. 1 stack. Good job.
Yep.
That's the other problem, too, is that if you put the two of them together, you probably tried to take... Well, no, you didn't play Skylar Thompson. Let's be serious. Nobody did that. Whatever. Deion Jackson completely smashed. Good for him against my Jacksonville defense. That was lovely.
Yeah, I played them in cash. I actually don't know if I won or not.
Well, you figure that out because we're all on pins and needles. Deion Jackson ended up being kind of your pivot. He was sub 10%. He was another cheap running back. He had more passing game involvement than you would expect maybe a Darrell Henderson to have, just based off of what we saw in that primetime Broncos game that was so unfortunate to watch. But if anybody did watch it, Deion Jackson was very involved. He continued that trend. Hopefully that quad injury he sustained at the end of that game isn't going to keep him out because I picked him up everywhere. How do you feel about Deion Jackson yesterday, considering you were actually overweight?
Yeah, I thought he was kind of the slate sort of made him a weird play. Like people asked about him on the show yesterday, and it was kind of just like, he's fine. He's a value option, but you had Phillip Lindsay sort of just looming there where you don't know exactly how that's going to play out. And then the fact that you had Kenneth Walker, Benjamin, Ramadri Stevenson, Darrell Henderson, like it just sort of pushed Jackson down to where he's not going to be that popular because you can't give him the same sort of projected workload that you can those other guys. But at the same time, that opens the door for a volatile, cheap running back, which typically you can't find. And if you do, they're going to be really popular. So it sort of opened the door. Like, I didn't think he was one of the best running back plays. Obviously, I thought he was behind those guys, but he did save some ownership. So, like, if you were building a lineup where you had Ramadri Stevenson, where you had Benjamin, obviously I had a lot of those, mixing in, Jackson as your flex, or if, you had a relatively popular team, maybe you have Stevenson and then you go Jackson over Benjamin in that particular lineup. So I thought he was a good tournament pivot. Not somebody that I was going to get in a ton of lineups because he wasn't as likely to succeed as these other guys. But at his ownership, I thought he was a pretty good play.
So in the $5 King of the Beach queue from yesterday for me.
Is that the one where you played the Panthers? Or didn't play the Panthers?
I did play the Panthers in this one. So there were two different ones. And so one had one lineup, one had a different one. Because like a good human being, I didn't play like the same group of 150. I played 300 lineups yesterday and spread them around.
That's a good way
number
to
of
lead
spots.
to yourself getting really pissed off. Just saying, I've been there, done that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think I won. I
top
think
five in two different queues with two different sets of lineups. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
A couple years ago, I think I won. So, like, how in NBA they'll do like the $15 100K to first, and then like the $5 10K or whatever. I think I won the $5 3 times in 1 week with playing like 300 lineups, and obviously didn't win the 100K at all.
Yeah, dude. Well, so King of the Beach, you can only put up to 5 entries in, so it's pretty easy to spread those out across everything. But I played all of the different levels of whatever, but out of those 10 had a different grouping, and then did the $5 queue for DK because I still haven't gotten to a live final, and it's disturbing to me. And so I just have been chasing, and I'm going to stop chasing here again. I think
I highly recommend not chasing.
Thanks. It's not fun,
yeah.
But
I think I've told you and everybody that, like, in my most recent downswing, I'm like going back and looking. I'm like, man, I don't feel like I've been playing that poorly. Like, my results haven't been that bad. And then I go back and look, and it's just like, oh, I threw $70,000 at the MLB Live Final and didn't go.
Didn't get a ticket. Right. Oopsie. But if you get that ticket, then you get a lovely trophy behind you because you're able to convert those opportunities. Like, you can play game theory. Like, you played your best projected lineup for your MMA final, and that's a thing you can do that you can't always do to qualify.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't play my best projected lineup.
Oh, okay. You like 2v2'd it, right?
I don't think so. I played my like 21st best lineup, or 21st projected lineup, and then somebody else just happened to play the same one, which sucked because then he beat me in a head-to-head, and I don't get to go to Tournament Champions.
Oh. I actually do feel bad for you because I like you. But anyway, Juju Smith-Schuster, congratulations on returning from the dead. You have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. He was 5%. Thought that in hindsight, maybe I should have had a little bit. I had 0%, so that wasn't fun. I had a lot of Adam. My guy, rant number 2, MVS. This guy is going to ruin my life. He's going to make me go busto. He's going to make me quit DFS forever because I am sick and tired of being better at putting together lineups and knowing the kind of upside that exists in a 6'4", 225 gazelle who has Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback, who catches a touchdown pass and has it called back for a downfield receiver. The offensive lineman wasn't even close. They take away the touchdown there. That was 11 points. It comes off the board. You know what happens? He doesn't end up getting the touchdown. MVS doesn't get targeted like the rest of the freaking game. It becomes a Juju Smith-Schuster missed tackle fest. Guys are going, oh, I can't tackle him. Oh, I can't tackle him. And all of a sudden, Juju Smith-Schuster has tournament winning upside at 5%. Makes everybody look like a genius when really MVS should have had it the whole time. Go ahead.
You should have played Juju.
Why are you the way that you are today? Why?
I think I played more MVS also.
Good. You're sharp.
Did I not play Juju at all?
Good. You're a liar again. You're a liar.
Oh yeah, I only played him in one lineup. Damn.
That wasn't sharp.
I played MVS in like 8%.
I had 0%. Zero. I had not a share of Juju Smith-Schuster. Not one share of Juju Smith-Schuster.
I had the same amount of Juju as I did Hill.
You know what also makes me stupid? Maybe I am just an idiot because I made money yesterday and I don't know how because, like, legitimately, I did post this and this is obviously something I should have brought up too. I had a ton of Marcus Mariota. That was a ton being relative. I think it was 19%, which when he's like 0.5% in a lot of the stuff I was playing, that felt pretty good. He had no receivers who came along for the ride. But you know what? I ran it back in every single one of those lineups with Jeff Wilson or Travis Kelce or Deebo Samuel. You know who I only had one share of out of 300 lineups? One share out of 300 lineups yesterday? Brandon Ayuk. Why am I so bad at this?
Yeah, you texted me that one when I was at the bar and I'd started laughing.
I'm so bad. Why am I so bad?
I had 5.5% of him, so like 2x the field.
I'll give you a cookie again. Good job. Rinpack had 11%. Oh, just wait for Rinpack.
I didn't know Rinpack played 11% of anybody. I thought it was 0 or 100.
That was good. Mark Andrews smashed. Obviously, just a smash fest. He's just an auto smash every time. 7K. I will say the disparity between him and Kelce was a lot larger than I was expecting it to be. I knew people liked Mark Andrews. 16% for him. As you go down, where did Travis Kelce go? I just had him pulled up because Mahomes.
Like 8.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's about appropriate. There were some tournaments like the $33,
oh, wait, no, he was 12.
The 5 max.
I had like 8.
Okay, but I'm saying that there were some tournaments where it was Mark Andrews was 20% and Travis Kelce was like 5 or 6, just because as you go down in stake or as you go up in stakes, down in entries, it became even more concentrated going towards Mark Andrews, but pretty impossible to be fading him at this point in time. No,
Kelce or Andrews?
Andrews.
Yeah, I mean, they just get him the ball so much. He dropped a touchdown too.
Yep.
I don't know if it was actually credited as a drop because it was tipped, but it still hit him in the hands and then he dropped it. So yeah, I had a ton of him. He was just, I thought I was going to get a little bit more Kelce than I did, but because I thought Kelce was going a little bit under owned and I thought Andrews was going a little bit over owned, but I think that $800 made a difference. And then also the fact that I just wasn't playing a ton of that Bills game made it so like I didn't have anything pulling Kelce up. So yeah, I mean, Andrews at that price, like he's just, especially with Bateman out, like he's clearly their number one receiver. They're looking for him every time they throw. Guy at the bar yesterday was like, he was like Ravens fan actually yelling at the TV every time Andrews caught the ball because he's just like, he's going to get hurt because he's the only person they throw the ball to. It's just going to happen. Like throw the ball to somebody else, which obviously was like a weird take, but also not wrong. So yeah, like he's just the only guy they throw to.
Dude, it's just absolutely wild how good he is. It is wild how good Mark Andrews is. If you had to start a team with that's like bar conversation. You were just at a bar having these kind of conversations. Who would you rather start a team with, Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews? I would pick Mark Andrews right now.
I mean, he's younger.
Well, that too. But just like from a talent perspective at the moment, I would rather have Mark Andrews. He can block better too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a take there. I think they're both really good.
You're supposed to have a take. That's your job.
Yeah.
It's cool. Breece Hall, 15.4% ownership. Nobody was overweight except for Rinpack because Rinpack is sharper than Adam is. That's what I've learned. But I just love my Iowa State boy. That's what it is. I didn't have a lot of Breece Hall. Green Bay probably laid the egg of all eggs amongst anybody. There were only two season-long bets that I made before the season started. One, under a 5.5 for the win total for the Bears, and the second one was Jets to make the playoffs. They're 4-2, and I did not expect this. They also lost their left tackle coming into this season. They're also getting a defense that's just making a lot of sense and can maybe win them some football games. But Breece Hall, that was a lot of ownership coming in on him on the road against Green Bay. Michael Carter getting a lot of the goal line work to ruin a crazy ceiling game the other week. What do you think about his long-term prospects?
I think he's good. We talked about him. I was kind of surprised I didn't get more of him, but looking at what I did at running back, I think kind of like we talked about with Henderson and Walker, I just played so much Stevenson and Benjamin that there wasn't really room for me to play another popular running back all that much. I did think that he was an example of somebody that would have been a lot higher owned had you not had, just a bunch of running back injuries last week or yesterday. He's seeing more work with the Jets. He's very involved as a pass catcher. Somebody in chat yesterday when Josh and I were doing the show was like, oh, you're chasing points on Breece Hall because he had such a massive game last week. And it's like, no, I don't care that he had a huge game last week, other than the fact that he was on the field a lot and he's been very involved as a pass catcher. I don't care that he scored 39 points or whatever it was. He's still underpriced for his role. So I thought he was a good play. I also just sort of, with the way my lineups were turning out yesterday, the ownership on him was a little bit higher than I could really get to. Somebody did play him against me in cash for $1,000, which I thought was a mistake, and I won, which was cool. But yeah, like he was a fine play. I just didn't get that much of him because I was playing so much Benjamin and Stevenson.
It's like whenever somebody has a terrible play like that and you know it's coming and you know you're going to win those head-to-heads, it becomes like Mortal Kombat where they're finish him. And you just know you're about to fatality him out the roof.
So we both obviously were heavy on the late games. He had Breece Hall just sitting in his flex from the early game. And so I'm looking at it and I'm just like, all right, well, that was clearly a bad play. Like, I know I have the advantage here. And then he just, scores and goes for 100. And I'm just like, not happy. But Stephon Diggs got me there.
Stephon Diggs got you to
he also
the
didn't
promised
play Josh
land.
Allen. Wow, I just noticed that.
He didn't play Josh Allen?
He played Geno. I don't know how you don't play Josh Allen in cash.
What? Oh, what's his screen name so all the people can benefit? You're DMing me that after the show.
I mean, he took my game. He doesn't post, so.
Oh, got it. Well, that's beautiful. Just getting sniped by dum-dums. That's fun. What a life you live.
Posting head-to-heads is still, even like, I mean, obviously in football, but like in other sports too, like you get some random people taking games. And
NFL more than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing NFL cash. NFL cash is the only thing I still play.
I haven't been playing 50-50s. I just post head-to-heads.
Just head-to-heads. That's it too.
Yeah, I just post head-to-heads and then cancel whatever doesn't get taken. If you were to post head-to-heads, they'd probably get taken by good players because they don't respect you. But for me, nobody really takes my games except for randoms, and so it works out really well.
Okay, we're just gonna keep going. Anything else you want to talk about in terms of? I guess we could probably do this. We've got Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Matt Ryan, even our boy Marcus Mariota was in a couple. Kind of nice to get a slate where there were a number of different options for quarterbacks that could get you to the promised land. It definitely was a slate. I mean, Joe Burrow was the one who showed up the most because he scored the most fantasy points and he actually had some type of ownership at 4.4%. But isn't it a relief when you don't get these slates that are complete nukes where you can actually build lineups correctly and still find ways to the top of the board?
Yeah, it definitely makes it a lot more fun to just like have multiple avenues to get there.
Yep, it was a lot of fun. Would have been cool if you had any Joe Burrow, but you didn't because you're not sharp like me and you didn't watch my show and take notes playing, 22% Joe Burrow like me. But it's okay. It's fine.
Of the screen names that I'm looking at, do you want to know who the only person that was really overweight?
Neil. Because he's from Minnesota and he's
actually
awesome.
I didn't have him pulled up. But Jesse was with you.
Because Jesse is actually, I think, my friend, whereas you might not be after all of this. Cool. But a great show, Loco. I know I missed something, Adam. Yeah. Go back and watch, Loco. Go back and watch. We've been some places here in the old 48 minutes that we've been on the air. Good Lord of Heavenly Christ, give me strength to get through these next 11 minutes. I'm getting religious again. It's been a while. Anything else that you want to talk about in terms of fantasy point projection? Anything that went nuts yesterday that we haven't really covered yet?
Matt Ryan against your defense. Like, I think I saw the stat that he dropped back like 58 times. Finally got a good Matt Ryan performance. I only had like 1%, but that also pulled up Michael Pittman, who scored 29 points at 1.5% owned. I was actually over the field on him, which was nice.
Can I talk about what smart thing I did in Rainmakers yesterday?
Play Matt
I
Ryan.
picked up 5 Paris Campbells and played them with $20 Matt Ryans, and I put them in the elite qualifier because I just picked up like elite Paris Campbells because they were like $25 or something. And he played over 90% of snaps for a second straight week now, which is wild. I mean, he played over 90% of snaps. I saw that last week, and I was like, well, in Denver, on the road, whatever. You get back in a dome against Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's had some issues in the secondary. So Paris Campbell, I thought was like your cheap. I think he could do decently well. Guy, I didn't play him in DFS though, because God forbid I did that. That would have been smart, but he was the cheapest wide receiver I thought would see a lot of him and Devontae Parker were the two that I picked up a lot of because they were like 25, 30 bucks for an elite card. And I was able to get and turn those into some packs and stuff, trying to chase after the Cortland Sutton legendary and stuff because there were only like 65 or 70 entries on Sunday morning. So I was like, all right, I'll throw a couple in there. And then Matt Ryan and him alone made up for all my actual good cards, like Jeff Wilson elite 1.2. Thanks for coming, bro. Good job. Good effort. God, should have had a legendary, but that would have been too convenient.
Paris Campbell 0.1% owned. I
know. But his elite cards were going for like 25 bucks, but he played over 90% of snaps in week 5. He was going back into a dome. Whatever. I had the thought process correctly. Because it's impossible to get elite cards that are under $50 that a wide receiver is going to actually see the field.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, good play. I just was looking at, I didn't realize he was only 0.1% in DFS.
I had 0% of him. Honestly, that was my big regret of yesterday. And I know that sounds really stupid to say, but when you notice things and our job is to go through all of this data all the time and try to find stuff, but he didn't feel like a DFS play I could click over. I played a ton of Marquez Callaway and Traquan Smith because I needed run backs for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. They didn't really get there in terms of a ceiling performance, but they were in all of my best lineups.
Yeah, I had 15% Callaway. I had, I think 10% Smith.
Yeah, I just didn't see how I could click on Paris Campbell over both of those. And again, it's not like a hindsight 2020 thing. It's more of just I would never have done that in DFS.
Yeah, I mean,
but when a card is 130 bucks for
Traquan, the only people that played him at all, Alex had him in one lineup and Ricky D had him in one lineup. Nobody else had him at all.
That's wild. So wild. Jeff Wilson Jr., he can literally go kick rocks is what he can go do. That dumb. I've said dumb a lot this show, but it's necessary. Let's talk exposures in the last 8 minutes. We'll go over the winning lineup. Actually, let's do that here first. I think that this is a great talking point. We got one lineup, one cash for $1,022,647. That is Westchester, BC. You know what Westchester, BC is? He is richer than we are today because he played Joe Burrow, Alvin Kamara as his run back, which I really, really like. Deion Jackson talked about that smash. Brandon Ayuk, I hate myself. Jalen Waddle, whatever. Juju Smith-Schuster truly hurt me. Robert Tonyan, what? And then Jamar Chase, which was the smash of all smashes. I don't know why he played Jamar Chase in the flex, but he did. I guess if you're making one lineup, it doesn't really matter. You're just like, hey, this is my lineup, and I'm rolling with it. Cardinals defense, because defense is a fluke, and I want to drop kick everything in sight. Beat the Jaguars by 15 fantasy points. What do you think of this lovely little lineup?
I think it's a solid lineup. Obviously you have the correlation with Burrow to Chase, running it back with Kamara. You got very strong players from that game. And then the rest of it is just solid. Went Jackson at lower ownership than a lot of the other value running backs. Still, we kind of already touched on it. He wasn't as likely to succeed as those guys, but he still had plenty of volatility, plenty of upside, and had a massive game. Brandon Ayuk, good performance. I don't think I really played a lot of him as a one-off. I think I mostly had him with Mariota or paired with Pitts and stuff like that. So it kind of hurt me, but perfectly fine play. Waddle, high upside play. Juju, fine. You're getting low owned exposure to that game. I think it's a solid lineup. It's a little bit. It's a little bit lower owned than I typically would play. There's Jackson plus Ayuk plus Waddle plus Juju plus Tonyan. You're kind of getting away from, plus the Cardinals. You're kind of getting pretty far away from the most likely outcomes, at least compared to how I play. But also, it's not like these were random dudes outside of Tonyan that went off. They're all solid plays. It's a solid enough lineup.
Yeah, no Mark Andrews in this lineup. So there's one takeaway. Pretty wild that he ended up not being there. Did you see the second place lineup? Mark Andrews and Robert Tonyan, double tight end.
I actually ran a lot of those this week.
I did too, but I'm just saying, Robert Tonyan, you're from the future if you're playing him alongside Mark Andrews. I thought there were a lot of I had a lot of Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews. I had a lot of Kelsey Andrews because they're basically glorified wide receivers that are mid 7K wide receivers you can play together. Yeah, I should probably reconsider that because they both end up being popular.
How did so the way I handled it was I set a group that I could only have one tight end unless one of them was Kelsey or Andrews.
That's exactly what I set up to.
Yeah.
Yep. That was what you had to do. You did not want to get yourself to Robert Tonyan and Hayden Hurst.
Right. Tonyan, Higbee,
Woo! Way to go, Tyler Higbee. Right. Thanks for coming. Have a nice day. Way to go, pal. Whatever. I didn't have any. I had 0%. I'm still so mad at defense. Can we go back to that? Can I do that one more time? No?
If you want to embarrass yourself, keep going.
Let's talk Osimo. We're going to go by his exposures. Benjamin, 81%. He did say on Live Before Lock, or on the deeper dive, that is, with Laffy, with Ben Raza, he said that Benjamin, I don't know how you get away from him, that he was going to be a big cornerstone of his lineups. He had and Ramondre, 75% and 81% respectively. I have no problem whatsoever doing that on a slate like we had yesterday. One didn't really work out for him. One didn't. But Benjamin, the other thing too is that it's not like it completely sunk your day because he was so popular, and it's not like he had 0, and it's not like, you weren't going to win anything with him, but still wasn't the apocalypse. What got apocalyptic was Tyler Higbee, Tom Brady, Chris Godwin, his next 3 there. What's going on in Tampa Bay?
I don't know, but also Fantasy Cruncher's ownerships are wrong again.
I kind of just noticed that. I
had 20% Brady. Oh, never mind. It says I had 19.4. So, yeah, it's not that wrong, I guess, but it's still off.
Slightly. It's not uploading every single lineup from the day before.
Yeah,
that's what I'm learning. Here's what I think the issue is, and so I was thinking about this morning. I think if there's dead lineups in it, it counts against it in a way where it basically is saying that lineup still exists, whereas DK is saying it doesn't. Does that make sense?
I'm not following.
Okay. So basically you have a bunch of people who reserve lineups and don't enter them. The ownerships are often like such a small, tiny way that I think one of the sites, either DK or Fantasy Cruncher, when it gets uploaded, like the CSV gets uploaded for it, I think that one is counting it and one isn't.
But how would that affect my own? Like it's got my exposures wrong.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. I was saying the ownership itself, like the entity.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's just like slightly off. Like it has me at 19.4% Brady when I had 20%.
Yeah. So let's overlook that here for the time being. What do you think about Tampa Bay? Because I really don't care that they had one bad game.
Yeah, I hope they figure it out because they're costing me a lot of money. It seemed like a really good spot to get to them. You had Pittsburgh playing without an entire secondary. You had, a cheap Brady. You had relatively inexpensive Godwin. Evans looked good. I got to a ton of Tampa Bay, and it did not work.
Imagine that feeling of just throwing $20 in for a sweat and shipping $1 million life-changing shit. I would like to imagine that. That would be great.
Yeah. Earlier, somebody said, imagine how insufferable I would be after I won the Millie, and I would love to find out.
You wouldn't be on the show. You would quit.
Yeah, but my Twitter account would just be the worst.
Fuck you. F you. I was going to say, you picked a fight. Are you going to fight now? Is that a thing that's happening?
I like Liam.
I know.
I would, but still.
You like people that you truly pick at incessantly.
Yeah, no, if I am talking shit to you on Twitter, I either really, really, really dislike you or probably like you.
Which one am I?
I text you to talk shit, so you're just a whole separate category.
It's not very nice. I love me or hate me. Pick one. Pick a lane. Let's jump over to the Colts here. Steve Buzzard, Drake London. Boy, that was not fun. He had 55% Drake London. I did like Drake London. Obviously, I played a lot of him with Mariota. Played a lot of Kyle Pitts, primarily with Marcus Mariota. But He's a very talented wide receiver out of USC. We've seen that upside here early on against San Francisco here. Yeah, obviously found success through the air. Didn't throw it that many times, only 14 pass attempts for Marcus Mariota. Unbelievable efficiency that we saw out of him there, though. Darrell Henderson, second highest owned. Deion Jackson kind of flipped a lot of the exposures on its head. Drake London ended up being really low owned, which is kind of nuts because he was projected well the entire week. It was just one of those, like, I know that you're going to come in lower owned than we think you are, but 2.6%, like, I don't completely blame him for jamming.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a logical pivot from Lockett too. You could get the same lineup build if you weren't going to that Arizona Seattle game, like you may as well play Drake London or somebody. I mean, the issue is just that the Falcons don't throw. It's not like it was surprising that Mariota barely threw the ball yesterday. But the flip side of that is there's just because they typically don't throw, it doesn't mean they're never going to throw. And if you just happen to get that one game this year where Mariota actually throws the ball, he has very talented playmakers in London and Pitts, where the ceiling just based on their talent is really high. So they're just kind of always going to be interesting at low ownership.
Whoa, there's nothing right after us, right? Okay, good. Just had to double check the schedule. I never thought that there was something after us, but just had to double check because I know NBA is coming back. You never quite know. Let's jump on over to Neil, Benjamin, Ramadri Stevenson, Kyle Pitts, 25%. My dude, he was up there on him too. 11 fantasy points. Wasn't apocalyptic. 8 behind Robert Tonyan. He ended up being just fine at a tight end position that Mark Andrews, you saw at a lot of winning lineups, but if it wasn't him, you could get away with a punt if you figured out other things. Stephon Diggs, smash, George Kittle. Neil, I will say, more spread out than just about anybody else that we've covered on these shows in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's pretty flat outside of Benjamin and Stevenson and Pitts.
Let's talk about you. Not very flat in terms of certain guys at the top. Ramondre, like your ownership there. Tyler Lockett, we could have a discussion after the show about even further. I don't like it. Tyler Higbee ruined your life. Not very nice of him. He can go kick rocks. Chris Godwin, pain, but otherwise, everything I'm looking at, DK Metcalf, if you had a lot of that game already, it made sense. The one thing I wanted to ask about your lineups was your decision, really no Kenneth Walker, along with anything else that you had from Seattle.
Yeah, I think it was just a matter of him being projected to be really popular and me having Stevenson projected ahead of him and Benjamin as a better value. Once, all the ownership's coming into those guys, I just sort of pushed up Stevenson based on raw projection and Benjamin based on value, and then just got to more of the passing game with Geno, Lockett, Metcalf. Yeah.
Who just said that? Kickstart. Damn, I love Steve's exposures. Yeah, the Colts, I thought, had awesome tournament builds. Deion Jackson, 38%. Alvin Kamara, 35%. Alvin Kamara, I thought, was probably the most slept-on player of the entire slate yesterday, comparable to his ownership, especially at a running back position. Everybody was jamming in value. You had $6,700 Alvin Kamara with Andy Dalton as a dump-off quarterback. That felt pretty good to get 35%. I didn't get to a lot of him. In hindsight, I can honestly say, even though it was only 18.4, that was one of my bigger mistakes, I think, on the day. And let's round it out with Rinpack, and this is fun. Rondale Moore, 50%. I hated that play. That was such a difficult one for me to get behind. I know that the game environment maybe dictated you got to a little bit, but we knew he was going to be so popular. 17%. He was north of 20% in a lot of smaller field stuff. So I guess if you're just gonna have a lot of that game, there you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's like he had a lot of that game, and for me, I had a lot of that game too. But I didn't get to a ton of Moore. I didn't get to a ton of Walker. I just got to that game through basically Geno, Lockett, Metcalf, Benjamin. But for Rinpack, it makes more sense to be, if you're going to be just jamming Rondale Moore, who I'm with you, I thought was one of the weaker chalk plays. If you're going to be jamming him, you probably are just jamming that whole game.
Eric and Adam, will you help justify my Galaxy brain? Aaron Jones playing single entry against an abhorrent Jets run D, and to expand upon why Matt LaFleur hates his guts. It's the same way that I felt about Nick Chubb. He's in a timeshare. They've been running really, really well. And Aaron Jones, I just did not like at his price comparable to other things. That's the one thing maybe we haven't talked about today. Price. Hey, all these other running backs were expensive. wide receivers that are expensive, we're going to get a lot more targets when you project out Stephon Diggs and Jamar Chase for as many targets as I was giving them. I think I had like 10.5 targets for Stephon Diggs, 9 for Jamar Chase. You put those kind of numbers next to them, I'm going to get so much of them at their respective ownerships. And then there were just running backs that were cheaper that I projected out the same as Aaron Jones.
Yeah. I thought that, like, I actually played a lot of AJ Dillon, which I didn't love, but it was sort of just, he was cheap and not likely to succeed, but also, has the ability to just be great at that salary if, touches go his way.
Mm-hmm.
But the price thing was pretty important to me. I think, like, obviously I would have preferred to have Aaron Jones if I'm playing a Green Bay running back, but he was also more expensive. Where I did pay up a little bit at running back, it was for like Joe Mixon and Kamara, guys that, I didn't have any concerns about their workload. So I think that Jones, you compared him to Chubb, I think kind of a poor man's Chubb, I guess, from a DFS standpoint, where the upside is always there because they're talented and they're going to get opportunities. Chubb, obviously just houses everything. So I think a little bit more appealing in DFS than Jones is, but it's just tough to project them for the same workload. It's tough to project them for the workload that their salary dictates. They still have that ceiling because any given week they can get more work, they can get more volume. They can just, house a touchdown or two. But from a projection standpoint, it's just tough to get there when they are sharing the backfield.
Yeah, if you had to ask me who I believe, if I were starting a football team and you made me pick 3 running back, well, Christian McCaffrey might be 4, so I don't know. But I think the 3 most talented running backs in the league are Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, and Aaron Jones. And I love Mike McCarthy. As a Vikings fan, thank God for McCarthy burying Aaron Jones early on in that process. Matt LaFleur hasn't done a whole lot better, but at least he's had those moments where they've just given him the opportunity to run it enough times. AJ Dillon's really good too. And that's kind of a problem is when you get 2 really good running backs, it's hard to say, Aaron Jones, go do all the work that we were making you do for the last 5 years. Whatever. DJ Moore, 20.7% ownership going his direction from Rinpack. He had 20.7% DJ Moore.
Yeah. Never mind. I thought you were saying DJ Moore was 20.7% owned. I was just like, how did I miss that and why?
Nope, that was a Rinpack. Just assume that if I say a really high number next to a person who's unowned, it's probably Rinpack. And Rinpack is probably right, and we're probably wrong. George Kittle, David Njoku, he ran some double tight ends, so that was kind of cool to see. Isaiah McKenzie, I don't even want to talk about. 10%, I had more than that of him, and that was I think Greg, he tweeted out it was like the worst wide receiver game by a player ever. It's up there. It was not enjoyable. That's all I have.
Yeah.
He played 8% AJ Green, which I don't even have words for.
I thought I played AJ Green. Maybe it was early slate.
AJ Green was 0.2% owned in the Millionaire Maker.
Yeah. I just remember seeing a lineup that I had with AJ Green, but it must have just been early slate because I didn't have him on the main. Didn't play a lot of McKenzie either because, sharp.
That does it for our show here. We went a little bit over, but thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, hanging out. Make sure you check out Prize Picks. Get that $100 for a smash deposit bonus. Before we get out of here, Adam, anything else you want the people to know about yesterday's slate from the Millionaire Maker?
No. I think we covered it.
NBA tomorrow.
Basketball starts. Yeah.
Use promo code HARDWOOD, y'all. HARDWOOD. All caps. 1 word. Even though I'm doing it as if it's 2 words. Yeah, just use that. Sign up at Stokastic.com. Come hang out with us. Thank you so much to Mike Lawrence behind the virtual wall. Good luck to your Philadelphia Phillies tomorrow. Enjoy Yu Darvish shutting you down. It's fine. No, I'm kidding. I think the Phillies are really, really well set up for this series. Yeah, special, like me. Guys, thank you so much. Hit that like button once more as we get ourselves on out of here. He's Adam. He's not very nice to me. I'm Eric. I'm not very nice to me either. We'll see you guys later. Bye.